Hello everyone! Today we join our 4 friends as they learn a little more about domestic tourism. It's so true what they say. You never appreciate the things in your own backyard.
What do you mean, mentor? Well, my backyard's full of junk. Let's see. There's a broken bicycle, there's some old newspapers, a rusty barrel. There's nothing much there I care to appreciate.
No, Borhan. What mentor means is that we never appreciate things that are easily available, but always long for something that are out of reach.
Like, I know my parents took me to Ho Chi Minh City last year, and I truly enjoyed it.
Where's that? Somewhere in Indochina?
Yes, in Vietnam actually. Ho Chi Minh City is the new name for Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam.
You mean there are 2 Vietnams? Like 2 Koreas or something?
Well, there were 2 before. North Vietnam, which was communist, and South Vietnam. But after the communists won the Vietnam War, they united the 2 parts and renamed Saigon after the great leader.
Join our friends. Here we use the simple present tense of the verb join. The simple past tense of join is joined.
What do you mean, mentor? Well, my backyard's full of junk. Let's see. There's a broken bicycle.
Full of junk. Junk is a noun meaning rubbish, things of little or no use.
No, Borhan. What mentor means is that we never appreciate things that are easily available, but always long for something that are out of reach.
Out of reach. Something that is far away from us or not easily attainable. For example, to a Form 2 student, a sports car would be out of reach. So too would a world tour.
Great leader who? Mao Zedong? The red chairman now?
Close, but not quite. We're talking about Ho Chi Minh, the communist leader who fought the French for independence.
Oh, you guys seem serious. Did I interrupt a discussion about communism or something?
Not really. How did we come to discussing Ho Chi Minh, Elena?
Well, the last I remember, mentor was talking about the many places to visit in Malaysia when you went off on a tangent and said that you had visited Vietnam before.
That's Borhan for you, digressing as usual. To digress. To wander from the main subject.
Okay, so while we're on the topic of holiday destination, tell me, where can you suggest that's nice and cool? Not too far from KL.
Why? Are you planning to sneak out without us to a secret location?
No, it's just that my uncle and his family are coming from India, and my mother was planning to take them sightseeing.
Well, let's see. There's Cameron, Fraser's Hill,
And Genting Highlands, don't forget.
Is it really cold up there? I mean, can you light a fire and snuggle all together?
Well, I don't know about Genting Highlands, but Fraser's Hill is really cozy. My dad managed to book a bungalow once with a real fireplace and all, so we had dinner around log fire.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yes, it was pretty cold outside. We left the windows open so that the cool air could get in. And then we snuggled up in front of the fire telling ghost stories.
Ooh, spooky. Didn't you get a visit in the middle of the night from some of the former inhabitants? I hear some of those bungalows are haunted.
There were about 12 of us, including my aunts and cousins. I guess with the noise we were making, we probably scared those spooks off.
But what is there to do in Fraser Hill? I mean, I don't want to sit in front of the fire the whole day.
Who's asking you to? And it's Fraser, it's not Frasen. You can take leisurely strolls in the day. There are beautiful flower gardens. They're quite different, from what we have here in the lowlands. And there's also squash and tennis courts, plus golf.
Did you say squash? Okay, I'm sold on the idea. My dad and uncle will be happy to know there's a golf course because they are just golfing fanatics. Great leader who? Mosito? The red chairman Mao?
Close, but not quite.
Red Chairman Mao. A red is another word for a communist.
The communist leader who fought the French for independence.
Fought for French. Fought is the simple past tense of the verb fight.
Mentor was talking about the many places to visit in Malaysia when you went off on a tangent.
Went off on a tangent. To digress. To stray from the original subject.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yes, it was pretty cold outside. We left the windows open so that the cool air could get in.
That's so cool. It means the idea of sitting around the fire and having dinner is nice. The cool air. The air is cool, as in temperature, in between hot and cold. Here, the same word is used, but the meaning differs in each sentence.
I guess with the noise we were making, we probably scared those spooks off.
Spook. Noun. Another word for ghosts.
I hear there's a waterfall as well. Bet that water is ice cold.
You're right, it's called the Jeria Waterfall, and there's a swimming pool where the water collects. There was no way I was going to get in. I was already bundled up in 3 layers of clothing.
Well, I must tell my mom about phrases. Hey, do you know how to book bungalows?
Let me check with my dad. I think he has the contact. I hear that Cameron's fun too. Lots of tea plantations and vegetable gardens, but I've never been there.
You should also check out Genting Highlands. Now, with the new route, it takes less than an hour from KL. There's a casino, of course, but I think you'll find the theme park a lot more interesting.
Yes, I've been on some of the rides. It's hard stopping to say in the least. Most of the times your heart is in your mouth.
What are you trying to say, Alina? Your heart is in your mouth?
Well, Chandran, that's just an expression to mean that you are really afraid. Like when you're on a roller coaster.
I know how it feels, but it's fun. The scarier the ride, the better. I'm a thrill seeker.
I bet you are, not me. I'm quite happy with my feet planted on the ground. I don't even like flying in an airplane.
Hey, that goes for me too. Hey, where's Jolly?
She's playing tour guide because her cousins are coming down from Ipoh. I think she's taking them to Batu Caves today.
Hey, I've been there. I go there every Thaipusam to watch the Kawadi carriers. Those devotees who pierce their bodies and carry those heavy metal frames?
Jeez, that must hurt. I've seen a picture of a guy with a skewer right to his cheeks, and there were lines hanging from hooks pierced into his flesh.
Okay, I get the picture. You don't have to go into such detail. Why do they do it?
Well, it's a form of worship. They get into a trance, so they don't really feel any pain. It's usually to pay Lord Morgan back for some wish that has been granted.
But how can you climb up all those steps with such a heavy burden? It must need a lot of strength. The scarier the ride, the better. I'm a thrill seeker.
I bet you are.
Thrill seeker. Someone who seeks out exciting pastimes.
She's playing tour guide because her cousins are coming down from Ipoh. I think she's taking them to Batu Caves today.
Playing tour guide. Performing the duties of a tour guide without being a qualified one.
Hey, I've been there. I go there every Thaipusam to watch the Kawadi carriers. Those devotees who pierce their bodies and carry those heavy metal frames?
Pierce is a verb in the simple present tense. Carry the kavadis. Carry is a verb in the simple present tense.
Well, it's a form of worship. They get into a trance, so they don't really feel any pain.
Trance, a state of ecstasy where a person is unaware of her surroundings and does not feel pain.
Hey Joey,
Hi, guys. But I'm flat out. Sightseeing is hard work. I had to take my cousins around town for the last 2 days.
We know. Elena told us. You didn't like KL?
Well, my cousins really loved it. They loved the malls, especially KLCC. But my uncle and my aunt didn't really like the noise and pollution. For them, Ipoh is still the best place to live in.
Sounds like my auntie. Every time she visits us from Kuching, she just can't wait to get back. I must say I had trouble adjusting to city life at first.
And then he met us, right? And everything fell into place.
Kind of. It's great to have a place to meet like here and great buddies like you. Anyway, Julie, do tell us the places you visited.
Well, we started off at Central Market. Didn't buy much, just saw window shopped. Then made our way to Merdeka Square. We walked around a bit and took lots of photos.
What? Of the tallest flagpole?
No, the Sultan Abdul Samad building opposite. You know, the one with the domes and clock tower.
Yeah, I know that one. It's really pretty, especially at night when it is lit up.
What are you doing, Chandran?
My uncle and his whole brood are coming to town next month, and I have to show them around. So I'm making notes. That way, I won't be a loss when it comes to doing the tourist bit.
Smart move. Do you know that it was at Merdeka Square that the Union Jack was lowered and the Malaysian flag was raised on 31st August 1957?
You mean the British flag, don't you? What did he call it?
The Union Jack, that's another name for it. Just like how we sometimes refer to the Malaysian flag as the Jalur Gemilang.
Okay, where else did you go? Did you make it to Batu Caves?
But climbing up those steps was no joke. All 272 of them, I counted. My leg muscles are still hurting from the climb.
Is it just a cave with bats in it? Maybe it's Dracula's den or something.
Don't be silly, Burhan. You always like to spook us out.
Well, we started off at Central Market. Didn't buy much, just saw window shopped. Then made our way to Merdeka Square.
Window shopped. Simple past tense of verb, window shop. To look at the displays in the stores but not buy anything.
My uncle and his whole brood are coming to town next month, and I have to show them around.
His whole brood. His family consisting of many children.
But climbing up those steps was no joke. All 272 of them, I counted.
Was no joke. Something serious, not to be laughed at.
Don't be silly, Burhan. You always like to spook us out.
Spook us out is to frighten us.
Actually, there are many caves, but this one has been changed into a museum. And they have statues of Hindu god, and there are lots of monkeys on the ground. And the tourists feed them groundnuts.
Oh yes, we did a fair amount of walking too around the lake gardens. There's the butterfly farm, bird park, orchid garden, and deer park. Just a stone's throw from each other.
Do you see the sangkanchil, the mouse deer? They're so lovable, aren't they? They just hide behind the bushes and sort of peep out now and again. They're such shy creatures.
I've been to the bird park. They've got a great variety of birds, such as flamingos, parrots, cockatoos.
Oh yes, I love the flamingos. They're pink in color and always stand on one leg. I also saw the rhinoceros hornbill from Sarawak.
You mean the one with the funny bee? Isn't that the official bird of Sarawak?
Yeah, that's right, Chandran. Do you have time to see the orchid park?
Yes, my aunt is an orchid fan. So there's no way she let us bypass the orchid garden. Actually, it was really lovely. The blooms were so colorful. My aunt bought some orchids as well.
Does she have green fingers? Orchids aren't easy to plant, you know.
Oh yes, her garden in Ipoh is full of orchids. My mom's the opposite. She's good at arranging flowers, but she can't grow a thing to save her life. There's the butterfly farm, bird park, orchid garden, and deer park. Just a stone's throw from each other.
A stone's throw. Nearby. Close to.
Does she have green fingers? Orchids aren't easy to plant, you know.
Oh yes, her garden in Ipoh is full of orchids. My mom's the opposite. She's good at arranging flowers, but she can't grow a thing to save her life.
Green fingers. To have green fingers means that you are good at gardening. Can't grow a thing to save her life. This means that Jolie's mother is totally hopeless at gardening. Even if she were forced to grow something to save her life, she couldn't do it.
Have your cousin gone back then?
No, they're here till Thursday. I promised them that I'll take them to the National Museum and the art gallery.
Wow, I guess by the time they go home, you'll be a pretty good tourist guide. You know, I've never been to either National Museum or the National Art Gallery.
Neither have I. We take it all for granted, don't we? It's always there.
I guess that's what Mentor meant when she said we never appreciate the things in our own backyard.
Meaning?
Well, we're living in KL, but we never take time to visit the many attractions in the city. Whereas Jolly's cousin came down all the way from Ipoh to see them. Funny, huh?
And I may get to see Fraser Hill, only on account of my uncle from India.
That's why Tourism Malaysia is desperately trying to get Malaysians to holiday locally instead of going abroad. That way, it also helps to keep the money within the economy.
Well, it's like this. If you spend your money overseas, then it does not benefit Malaysians. But if you spend it locally, it helps other Malaysians, such as the taxi driver, the hotel you stay at, as well as the restaurant owner where you have a meal. That way you create demand in the economy, which helps to keep the economy healthy.
Thank you, Mentor. I never did understand why they kept on insisting we should holiday locally.
We've only talked about the hill stations, but there's so much more out there. The islands of the East Coast, plus Sabah and Sarawak. Here, it's all in this brochure.
Yes, Selena. Tell us about Kuching. Did you live in a long house, Selena, before you came to KL?
Yes, she wore bark cloth and had feathers in her head. The whole works, right? And Anina's father was a headhunter.
Really cool.
You're so gullible sometimes, Chandran. Farhan was just pulling your leg.
I didn't feel anything.
That means Broham was only teasing you. I lived in Kuching in a bungalow with a garden, just like what you see in KL. But some of my relatives still live in the longhouse.
Can we go visit during the school holidays? I hear there are many tribes in Sarawak, and they have many interesting customs.
You're so gullible sometimes, Chandran. Farhan was just pulling your leg.
Gullible, easily deceived or cheated.
And there's this huge skull of an elephant. I mean, it's really huge. The story is that the elephant charged at a train and derailed it.
Must have wondered what this iron monster was, invading its territory.
Yes, you know, when the English first started building railways, the local people were terrified. It looked like a ferocious dragon with the smoke coming up from the engine.
What else did you see? I always think of museum as being stuffy with loads of old objects.
You'd be surprised though. Old, but interesting. There's this strange exhibit called the amok catcher. Used to catch a person who has run amok.
What do you mean, amok?
Do you know the English word amok is derived from the Malay word ahmak? That you didn't.
Yes, that's what the write-up in the museum said. It's funny how words travel from one language to another.
A lot of words in the English language actually have their origins in Latin or French.
Just as Malay borrow words from Arabic, Sanskrit and English.
Do you know what's interesting? There are even some Spanish words in our Malay language.
No kidding, English words are pretty common, but Spanish, whoa.
Zapato is Spanish for shoe, and sepatu is slipper in Malay. Do you see the connection?
Yes, but how do you know all these interesting snippets, Jolly?
The story is that the elephant charged at a train and derailed it.
Charge and derailed. Simple past tense of the verbs charge and derail. Charge, to approach something at a great speed. Derail, to cause train to run off the rails.
Yes, but how do you know all these interesting snippets, Jolly?
I've been taking Spanish lessons.
Snippets, facts or fragments of knowledge, trivia.
I've been taking Spanish lessons. I've always liked languages.
What, on top of Leo Club, Girl Guides and all the other stuff?
Well, it's only once a week, and I have an auntie in Madrid. My mom said I could visit her after my PMR, so that's my incentive.
Cool. You should go to Pamplona in July for the bullfight. All blood and gore. And shake hands with the matador.
There's such a cruel sport.
Just like you, Bohan, to go for all that kind of thing.
Anyway, there are attractive dioramas in the museum, showing the cultural aspects of Malaysia too, like the houses of the Straits Chinese of Peranakan.
Oh, it must be a smaller version of the Baba Nyonya Heritage Museum I visited in Malacca.
Yes, you have the elaborate wedding attire of the bride and groom, plus some gold jewelry, even a marriage bed. My mom said I could visit her after my PMR, so that's my incentive.
Incentive, a reward to encourage good performance.
Cool. You should go to Pamplona in July for the bullfight. All blood and gore. And shake hands with the matador.
Blood and gore, a bloody spectacle. Matador, a bullfighter.
Anyway, there are attractive dioramas in the museum, showing the cultural aspects of Malaysia too.
Dioramas, scenic models with lighting effects.
Don't they also have the wedding costume of other races too?
I was coming to that. They have wax models of a Malay couple on the dais during Sunday. They look very real.
Where's the museum? Don't remember passing it.
It's not far from Bangsar, near Central Railway, right?
It's real easy to get there. We took a bus which stops right in front of the museum. You can't miss it. It's got funny roofs and looks like a traditional Malay house.
They're called Minangkabau roofs and look like the horns of the buffalo. I know cause my mom's Minangkabau.
You mean she's not Malaysian?
No, what I mean is that she descended from the Minangkabau tribe of Sumatra. Many of them settled in Negeri Sembilan, but they can trace their roots to Sumatra.
And then matrilineal, which means that all the property is passed down through the daughters.
Yes, that's what my dad used to joke. Never marry a woman from Negeri Sembilan because all her property will be hers. And look where he ended up.
Okay, Museum Negara near Central Station. Good exhibition. Culture and historical. What else? Did you make it to the National Art Gallery?
It's close by, right? Just a stone's throw.
No, it moved to Tun Razak. You must be thinking of the old Balai Seni Lukis which was housed in the old hotel.
I know which one you mean. Hotel Majestic. My mom said it was a popular place for grand balls during the British era.
I went there once to attend an exhibition of large cartoons. It's a nice building, very different from our modern ones.
Yes, my dad says it's a heritage building, so you can't pull it down. It's part of Malaysia's history.
That's good that they're preserving our old buildings. And about time too.
My dad's an architect, so he knows a lot about this National Heritage Trust, Badan Warisan Malaysia. They fight hard to preserve whole buildings.
So tell us, Jolie, is the art gallery worth a visit?
Oh, definitely. We spent about 2 hours there and still couldn't finish going through all the rooms. There's an ongoing exhibition on young contemporaries and another on installations.
What's all that?
I think it's time to call a mentor. It's all pretty new to me, these terms.
Don't worry, Jolie. Here's Mentor to the rescue. Contemporaries, people living at the same time as another. For example, they were my contemporaries at college. In this instance, however, the term young contemporaries refers to up-and-coming artists. Installation. Artworks that are three-dimensional. They comprise various objects and surfaces arranged together.
I was actually surprised to find chairs and tables, even a bathtub, being considered art. I always thought of art as just painting.
I always hear my dad talking about mixed media, whatever that is.
Mixed media. When an artist uses not just one medium, example oil paints, but also watercolor, acrylic, and even photography, then the work is termed mixed media.
Anyway, we had a good time. My cousin Wylin is good at drawing and she really enjoyed the exhibits.
What beats me there is people will pay millions of dollars to see something weird. Just a splash of paint on a canvas.
Yeah, do you know that the most expensive paint is Van Gogh's sunflowers? Some auction house sold it for many millions of dollars some years back.
Well, it's because he's dead. And do you know he died poor? It was only later that people realized what a genius he was.
I can't think of one Malaysian artist whose works I'm familiar with.
Neither can I. Let's see.
Well, there's Syed Ahmad Jamal and Ibrahim Hussein and Yo Jin Ling.
It's a pity most Malaysians are not well versed with our local artists. Of late, the art scene in Malaysia has been thriving, with many private galleries set up. The National Art Gallery is modern, fascinating, and a treasure trove of information. So be sure you visit soon.
Wow, I'm impressed. Do you learn all this during your trip?
Yes, I think I experienced information overload. So many things to see and take in. I definitely want to go back there again.
Yes, you picked mine just now. Call me in the next time you plan a trip. Boys?
As long as it doesn't clash with the football matches, our club matches are coming up, so we're going to be rather busy.
My badminton training starts soon too, so I can't really commit at this stage.
I saw a notice on some paper mache classes that some artist was giving for 2 consecutive weekends. I may sign up for that.
You're crazy. You're loading yourself with too many extracurricular activities.
Yeah, your grades are going to suffer.
Well, it's just a thought. We'll see what happens.
I wish our classes in school were more interesting. Mrs. Ramu just leaves us to our own devices, and we don't learn anything.
Besides, she's always on leave as well.
She's really a very enthusiastic teacher. She comes around from student to student and tries to give us some personal advice.
Yes, I've improved quite a bit. I couldn't even draw a straight line before.
I think teachers are so important to set the right mood. Get a lousy teacher and you're doomed.
Don't even mention Puan Kwan. If you do, I'll scream.
Oh, are you a pet or something?
Yeah, right. A pet she'll like to throttle, perhaps.
She's not that bad. Maybe it's just your attitude, Julie.
My attitude? What did I do? She's always picking on me. You're siding her cause she likes you.
Okay, let's change the subject. Mrs. Kwan is something Jolly and I can never agree on.
Okay girls, time to be scooting out of here. Football backwards.
Yeah.
Now that you know, you'll have ample things to do when the holidays roll around. Go have fun in the sun at one of our beach resorts, or snuggle up beside a fire in the cool hill stations, or even sign up for an art class at the National Art Gallery. Ta-ta, I'm out of here.